Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Custis, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies. Hello, and welcome back to the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Custis, and friends, today we are talking about something that touches every woman in midlife. Your health, your body, your hormones, you know the list. My guest today has truly walked the walk. She is an ISSA certified personal trainer and nutritionist. She is a registered yoga teacher, a hormone specialist, an emotional eating coach, and a Harvard Medical School trained lifestyle medicine coach. She also hosts her own podcast, How Good Can It Get? And honestly, I feel like that title alone tells you everything that we're going to be talking about today. But here's what I love most. Behind all of those credentials, because there are a lot, is a woman who was actually silently struggling and who had built the businesses, raised the family, tried every diet, and still couldn't figure out her own body. Nothing stuck until she realized the real breakthrough wasn't physical. It was actually the mindset. It was lifestyle and sustainable habits. She lost over 80 pounds in her mid 40s and transformed every area of her life. And now she gets to help other women do the same. So I would love for you to please welcome to Rise to Shine, Terry Tateossian. So happy to have you here.
Thank you, Nicole, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, of course. And I have to tell you, Terry, this is kind of a funny little side note before we get started. This morning, I always have my own little morning routine that I have, and I just love when things align so perfectly. During my morning time, I had put up a story on social media. And it wasn't until later when I was sitting down reviewing my notes, and I have to show you this for today, that I saw your podcast name and I stopped and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so funny. Are you kidding me right now? Because my whole little story was about asking yourself, how good am I willing to let life get? And I thought, oh my gosh, like I said, when I was reviewing the notes for today, I went, oh, that's right, that's the name of her podcast. So just so much fun and really excited to have you here. And I just love to get into it because there's a lot to cover and so much that you're doing. So really excited.
Thank you.
All right. So the first question, let's just start here because I feel like it's the most natural way to start this off is you had built the businesses and you were even, I believe I saw that you were advising major brands. And from the outside, everything was looking incredible. But I would love for you to tell us what was actually going on the inside and when did you realize that something had to change?
Yeah, so I started my entrepreneur journey at the age of 25, and I haven't really stopped since then. So I'm going to be 50 this year. So you're looking at about 25 years of being on my own. And as an entrepreneur, mostly startup, a long time, right? 2.5 decades. And so when I first started out, it was very exciting, right? Everything was really cool, exciting. It was the dot-com bubble back then. All this new technology was coming out, just kind of like it is now, right? So now you have this whole avalanche of new AI technology coming on the market. Things are very exciting, very interesting. And so you don't really feel the changes coming on. They kind of creep up on you, right? And so very distracted with work, very excited with all the new companies and experiments I had running and, the different startups I was a part of, the new clients, growing the company. And so over time, little by little, when you're young, you don't necessarily notice the impact that gaining 80 pounds has on your body, the impact of very little sleep, the impact of not eating nutritious food, just eating whatever you feel like and not knowing what the nutritional ingredients are, what the content is of the foods that you're consuming, not really paying the price of eating a jar of Nutella in your 20s. Okay. It's not as expensive. Let's just put it that way. But as time went on, as the more stressed out I got, I had two children in this time period. The weight was not coming off as easily as I thought it would. And I was just spinning my wheels. And then eventually, about 36 ish, I would say 36, 37, the
Mhm.
wheels started coming off. And so I would sit at my desk and suddenly feel this very noticeable, very dramatic loss of energy. Like I would just and just shut down
Right.
within 20 seconds time, right? And so I
Mhm.
was like, wow, that's different. I've never experienced that before. And, in the
Right.
beginning, you think it's a fluke. Oh, whatever. That was just a one time glitch in the system, right? But then it
Mhm.
keeps happening. And then over time, you're like, oh, wow, I never had such a hard time losing 10 pounds and going up a flight of stairs and falling asleep, right? Or I never had such terrible anxiety, right? And these things creep up on you.
Mhm.
And eventually, I'm the ignorer type, right? So I ignored it all. Eventually, I ended up in the hospital and I thought I was having a heart attack. And they couldn't find anything wrong. They gave me a Xanax. They sent me home and they said, yeah, you're having a panic attack. Go home. Here's a pill. And I was like, oh my gosh, how embarrassing, right? I was
Mhm.
embarrassed. And again, I was like, that's such a glitch. I don't have time for this nonsense. I just went on about my business. And about 6 to 7 months later, it happened again.
Mhm.
And this time I was like, this is for sure. I'm having a heart attack. And again, it was same thing. But somebody did tell me, like, hey, you're 5'3", you're 210 pounds. Maybe you need to think about doing something about that because clearly your body is not able to sustain that amount of weight on your frame. And
Mhm.
so thankfully, the nurse in the hospital, the ER that told me that did wake something up in me. And that's when at 37, I started the quest for all the possible things I could do to help myself.
Wow, I relate to this story more than you realize. It is and it is something that I feel like is so common. And I have heard more and more women. I'm 52, so I have, gone through my 40s, and through that I was a teacher for 25 years, and in that world, there was so much stress. There was a lot of, I watched the women around me, including myself, like fluctuating on the scale, like gaining lots of weight. Of course, as we got older, it was a little bit more challenging. We were trying all of it. Like I remember like women, you'd go into the teacher's lounge and everyone is, you would either see somebody trying the new keto or even going back in the day. And I feel like this is something that I was seeing on your pages, maybe on Instagram, like, trying the Atkins. Like for those of you that know, there was the Atkins, and then came all the juice cleanses. I mean, there's been diet pills. I saw it all. I've experienced it all, truth be told. And here's the thing, like it all looks like everything is right on paper. Like it all looks like that. What I would love to know, because this is something that I feel like women experience, where it's like you feel like, wait a minute, I'm smart, I know this, like I know what I'm supposed to be doing, or even just having all of that determination that you're like doing all of the things, but yet you still feel stuck in your own body. I would love for you to just speak to that, as what does it feel like to be in that situation, because I know that we are going through it. We're trying to find all of those answers.
Yeah. So in our 20s, so I'm going to speak from my own personal experience.
Yeah.
It applies generally to most women. In my 20s, I never had a hard time losing any weight, right? So I just have to starve myself for a couple of weeks and all the weight came off. No problem, right? I didn't really work out. I didn't know what the heck a gym was. I didn't know what a dumbbell was. I couldn't tell you what a Romanian deadlift was. No clue, right? That's all I had to do. And that's what I knew, right? So in order to lose a couple of pounds. All you had to do was just starve yourself to bare minimum, right? So juices, waters, very little food, try not to eat. And so once I hit perimenopause, which is coincidentally at about 37 when all these things started,
Mm.
when the wheels started falling off.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know it at the
I
time.
love that you put it that way.
Yes, I had entered perimenopause. That was the trigger that created all the chaos that I was trying to figure out what the heck's going on with me because I just felt very different. And
Mm.
so I tried the same things, right? So that's what I was doing. I was doing probably about, I would say, 2 hours of cardio on my Peloton every single day and eating very little food. Like in terms of salads, I was eating salad after salad after salad all day long. And I did end up losing a couple of pounds. But
Mhm.
then every single time I did, and then quote unquote, went back to normal life, I
Mm.
wouldn't just gain back the 10 pounds. I'd gain the 15, maybe 20 pounds because now
Right.
my body's starving, right? So it's compensating for the starvation period of time. And so I kept doing that over and over and over and over. And instead of getting the weight off, I was getting more weight on than I originally started.
Mhm.
Right. So, like, let's say I started at 190, I'd get down to 180, stop the diet because it's not sustainable. Okay. I can't do 2 hours of cardio every single day for the rest of your life and just eat salads.
Yeah.
I would not only gain it right back, but I'd push into 190 and then I'd do another diet and then I'd push into 200 and then every diet I was like, oh man, I'm just going to do this so I can gain more weight. And so eventually, I don't know, something finally connected in my brain and I was like, what are you doing?
Wow.
This is not working, right? And so all the veils fell for me at the time. All the curtains parted, the Red Sea part, everything clicked at one point. And I was like, holy schmoly.
Right.
This is a scam. This is all a scam because none of this works. I can't be on Atkins for the rest of my life. I
Right.
can't eat 30 grams of fat
Yeah.
every day for the rest of my life. It wasn't sustainable or whatever it is, 20 grams of fat, I think it is. And so it finally clicked that this was all designed to sell diets, to sell
Mm.
books, to sell programs. It wasn't a sustainable way of life and it was not going to work for me. And the reason why it became so obvious was because I was in perimenopause. Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
most women are going through that, right? So all of a
Right.
sudden, the wheels come off, your body is in a different stage
Mhm.
and we're made to believe like, oh, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
None of these things are working. It must be you. Something must be wrong with you. Not that the system has
Mm.
been teaching us to do Atkins and South Beach and all this juicing and cleansing and all
Right.
these things. It's not that's incorrectly applied to menopausal, perimenopausal women, but it's that
Mhm.
we are busted, right? Something's wrong with us. And so we fall into that trap and we feel stuck.
Yeah. Totally. Gosh, so many things running through my mind as you're talking about this. Let's first hit the hormones because I feel like perimenopause and menopause are finally starting to get the conversation that they deserve because I feel like women have been so confused or completely gaslit on this topic for so long. What do you wish that every woman over 40 knew? In your case, like in your 30s, I had a friend that went through this in her 30s as well. What do you wish every woman over, let's say, even 35 knew that most doctors aren't telling them?
Well, number one is perimenopause starts a lot earlier than we're led to believe. I talk to a lot of women. So the majority of symptoms, the very beginning phases of the symptoms, actually, the majority of women, it starts in their mid 30s, sometimes even younger.
Yeah.
And so you start feeling these things, but you don't really know what you're looking at, what you're
Mm.
feeling. And so we kind of sweep it under the rug. But they
Yeah.
do, the fluctuations begin, the more dramatic fluctuations, hormonal fluctuations begin much earlier than we're led to believe. And depending on what your history is, depending on your body composition, depending on your body fat to muscle ratio, they can be varying in degree. Right. And so the more metabolically unhealthy we are, which was my case, the more severe I feel like the symptoms can be. The
Mm-hmm.
more optimized we are in our 20s and 30s, it could be a different experience, not necessarily better, right? But it could be different. So, and every woman is very different. So when you are looking at your own symptoms, don't compare them to the general public or to your friend, for example,
Love
because
that.
yours could be totally different.
Yeah,
Right. And
totally.
yeah, so like some women say that they lose libido, other women say it escalates, it's more than ever. Right.
Right.
And so it's a very different response to what's happening internally. Now, the other thing is that I wish more women knew that, I wish I knew, is that strength training, resistance training truly is the holy grail because hormones live in our muscle tissue,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the muscle tissue helps regulate fluctuating hormones. And so the more strength we build in our 20s, 30s, and 40s, the more our trajectory looks brighter into our 50s, 60s, and 70s. Right. And I feel like the latest trends now, skinny talk and skinny this and skinny that, it's coming back, right? Every 30 years, there's a new cycle of trend.
Yep.
And so everybody's trying to be skinny, 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 but that's just as detrimental as being obese. Right.
Mm,
And in fact, from working with other women and running retreats, what I have noticed is that women that are more fragile and have less muscle tissue and are the quote unquote skinny type, right, have a
mhm.
harder time than women that are carrying a little extra weight, or, in my case, a lot of extra weight and then eventually slim down. So they have a harder time building muscle tissue overall. So it's more difficult actually. And so I wish that that was a little bit more common knowledge, and that you're not going to get bulky. You're not going to look like a man. Nothing's going to happen where all of a sudden you're going to go to the gym for a month and you're going to wake up looking like a man. That's not going to
Right.
happen.
Right.
And then the third thing that I hear very consistently, I hear this all the time. So,
Mm,
ladies, listen up. Walking, yoga, cardio are all fantastic forms of movement.
mhm.
Great. If you're doing them, keep doing them. But they are not the same as resistance training. Resistance training is its own category. So if you feel like you're hiking, you're walking, you're stair mastering, you're doing yoga, you're doing Pilates, great, but that's not resistance training, right? So there's no progressive overload applied there. There's no mechanical tension to a lot of these types of modalities of movement. Cardio obviously does not build muscle, it actually eats into muscle. And so there's a lot of varieties of movements, and there's a lot of confusion as to what is actual resistance training. And
Mm,
so formal resistance training means that you start where you're at, and over time, you progressively get stronger in some way, right? And so it doesn't necessarily mean apply more weight. It could mean do more sets, do more reps, slow down the movement. It means add weight, right? There's a lot of different ways of getting progressively stronger. So I would just want that to be a little more clear out there because there's a lot of fear and a lot of resistance about resistance training.
so true. Yeah, that is absolutely true. I'm so glad you're mentioning this. As a matter of fact, I just had another expert on a few weeks back and was talking about the same thing. This was a huge conversation that there is this fear. And again, I go, gosh, I relate to this so much. My husband has been a guy that has been going to the gym since forever and a day and has always said this because I was the one resisting it. I was that girl. And I still can even go there. And I tell you, I'm going again, there's no accidents that I'm having people coming on the show to talk about this topic because I think it is so prevalent. Again, I think this is exactly what's happening. You've got you've got the skinny era happening right now, but then you also have we have been ingrained for so long about staying away from the weights and staying away from all of that because you're gonna look like this, bodybuilder. You're not gonna be feminine. Everyone's, freaked out by that. But the more and more I'm learning about it, and again, I laugh because I go, if my husband listens, he's going to be like, I told you, because he's been saying this for years. But it has been something that I know that people, and I get it, I love, and thank you for saying what you said, is that if you're doing all of that, great. It doesn't mean to stop doing that. There's wonderful benefits to those things as well. However, when we start to age, the importance of what you're talking about is huge. And it's really starting to come to the forefront more and more, which I'm grateful actually, because I feel like I'm learning a lot through all of you that have walked this walk and that know the science behind it. And here's another thing that I was curious about because I know that you work. I mean, everything that you do is science based. Definitely, you are very well educated in all of this, and it's evidence based. There's not like all the quick fixes. And curious because, like I said, there's a couple directions I would love to go. But for the women who have been sold every quick fix that's out there and is also skeptical, what would you say to her?
Yeah, I mean, if it's too good to be true, it's going to be. So, just for the record, right? It took me 10 years to get my
Mhm.
act together. Okay.
Yeah.
There is no way to outtrain bad nutrition. You could kill yourself in the gym. You can do 100 strength training sessions, 10 classes of yoga. You can do all the things to the max. If your
Mhm.
nutrition is not there, you're not going to see the results that you're looking for. That's one,
Yeah.
right? So, real food nutrition, not some kind of a protein shake, protein bar, protein powder. Forget it. You don't need that. You don't need to buy those things. Just focus on real protein, real food, whole food. There's no patent on that, so they can't sell it to you as a quick fix. You cannot out supplement yourself into health, right? So a lot of times what I see when I start working with women is there's like a 35 stack supplement on every possible vitamin and mineral you can think of. And my first question is, do you actually need these? Did your
Mhm.
physician recommend these that you need to be taking? Vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin B, all the complexes. Do you
Right.
actually have a deficiency, right?
Mhm.
Where is your blood work? Oh, I didn't get blood work for 2 years. So,
Mhm.
how do you know that you need these things, right?
Yeah.
And, that's the other thing. Some of these, when you take 35 different supplements every single day, could actually be working against you,
Totally.
right? So, there could be different interactions that they're having. They might have incompatibilities. Who knows, right? So,
Mhm.
unless your blood work says you're deficient in vitamin D, then and nothing else, your magnesium's fine, your sodium's fine, your potassium's fine, your B's are all good, then you don't need to be supplementing, right? And so I think that those things are being used as crutches in
Mhm.
today's world,
Yeah.
right? And then the other thing I see all the time is, oh, menopause vitamins, right? I see
Uh,
constantly menopause specific things, right? And why is that? Because women over 50 are now a majority. We're a
yeah.
really big market, right? So all the marketers are coming out of the woodwork and marketing directly for these particular symptoms. And we're kind of desperate, right? We're kind of desperate to find solutions because that transition right now between 35 to 55 into perimenopause and menopause is a significantly dramatic time in our lives, just like it we were when we hit adolescence, right? It was a
Mhm.
very dramatic time. And what do we suggest to adolescents and preteens? Get good food, eat the right food, get enough sleep, All those things, they apply to perimenopause, right? We're
Mhm.
teenagers again. So we have to take care of ourselves, but we have more responsibilities. We have families, we have mortgages, we have all this stress. So it compounds and makes things a lot worse. So we become desperate to find solutions and to find quick fixes when in reality, it's the foundation that's not right. Our foundation is busted and
Mhm.
we've been operating that way for many years. And it's daunting to think about, where do I begin? What do I do first? There's so many things to do. Oh,
Mhm.
let me try the supplement. So and so said it was fantastic. Most likely fake news.
Yeah, so
So
true.
yeah.
I mean, I love, oh gosh, so many things in that I love that you said is number one, I love that you're saying it took me 10 years. It wasn't an overnight quick fix. And I think, again, for so many reasons, we're looking for that quick fix, whether it be for desperation or it is because we're thinking like, gosh, I don't have the capacity. I don't have the time to sit and go to the gym all the time. So what's going to be the quickest thing I can do? So I think that definitely gets in our way. I think that so many of us are looking to our girlfriends and going, "What are you doing?" And we're not getting the blood work done. And again, it's like, this is something that I have definitely been saying out loud for a while now. Please get the blood work, please, because I know someone who had kidney stones and they're saying that those were likely caused from over supplementation
Yes.
and they were not breaking them down well enough. They didn't need all of this stuff. And so huge eye opener that again, we don't all fit into a one size fits all box. And I cannot agree more that a lot of this is all marketing. This is all to make money, and that's a whole nother conversation, I know, but it is frustrating. And I think this leads women down a path that can be very confusing, very frustrating. And then we start to self sabotage. And then we go into this place where, we're beating ourselves up. I know that you speak about this with self sabotage. Where do you feel like that shows up the most in women that you work with, especially when it comes to their health? And what do you think is underneath all of that?
Perfectionism. That's number
Mm.
one. If I can't do this perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all. So if I can't hit every single metric, every single task, every single activity I have to do 100% accurately and correctly and perfectly, I'm just going to dump the whole thing. Right. So we don't know how to downgrade to like 90% good enough. On some weeks, some days, 50% is good enough, right? Just do half of whatever it is, right? And just giving ourselves grace
Yeah.
that it's okay if it's not 100%. 50 is better than zero, right? So I see
Mhm.
that all the time. The other thing I see is comparison, right? So a lot of comparison with women, where they see the perfect picture on Instagram, and so is, you know 200 years old, but they look like they're 19, and I want to look like
Right.
that. And it's like, wait a minute, hold up, ladies, right? First of all, half of what you see on Instagram and on the internet is AI, and it's fake. And I don't even get me started on how many transformations I see on social media that are AI generated. They're not even
Ugh,
real. So they
no.
show
And it's
you
getting harder and harder now.
and they have hundreds of thousands of followers. And I'll go into their post and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so obviously fake to me. I can tell it's complete baloney. But then I see people I know liking and commenting and rooting and
Right.
and supporting these AI accounts. And I'm like, don't you ladies understand this is fake? I don't know.
Yeah, it is so tough. And that self sabotage is so real. And definitely, I see it so much with high achieving women. I mean, it definitely is something that I feel like perfectionism is such an issue for all of us walking this walk. And another thing that I know that you work with, and I am fascinated by this because, again, I feel like whether it be self sabotage or going on these roller coaster rides of like we do well and then we get stuck at this place, or we think like, okay, I've lost the 10 pounds. Like I wanted to do 20, but it's been really hard to get to that 10. I feel good. I look good. I'm in one size lower, whatever the case is. And then all of a sudden, we see ourselves like sneaking back up. We kind of go into the same patterns, all of the same things. So I know that you work with emotional eating, and I think that term sometimes gets misunderstood. Um, could you just break that down for us, what that really is? Because I know a lot of women will say, I'm such an emotional eater, and this is what happens if I fall off the wagon. And we'll get to that in a minute because I definitely want to talk that this is way more than physical and there's so much more to it. But why do you feel like so many high achieving women find themselves caught in this emotional eating? And what is that exactly?
Yeah, so the emotional eating symptom is a sign of a deeper disconnection, a deeper of our internal state.
Mm,
So a lot of us feel that I'm going to correlate this to other things like alcohol and nicotine and other types of drugs. Obviously, I cannot compare it to those types of addictions. But at the end of the day, it is a, a thing. It's a food addiction, right?
mhm,
And so just like addiction treatment, it follows a very similar protocol. What is the underlying cause or reason for using food to self regulate your
mm,
nervous system, to self regulate your emotional state, right? So it's a scary question, right? Because it forces you to look internally and turn your whole life upside down.
yeah.
So, what is it that is contributing to this particular pattern? And most of the time, we do this blindly. We're completely unconscious in this particular pattern of behavior. And
Mhm,
I did not realize I was doing it. Imagine for years. I was doing it for years. I was using alcohol as well,
mhm,
alcohol, nicotine, food, sugar, Nutella, ice cream, anything to soothe myself, calm myself down. And
mhm,
that was a result of being unhappy internally, feeling extremely overwhelmed, stressed, stressed, very stressed, appreciated around,
mhm,
and just lost, just really lost. And so you name you name it, I do it because I didn't like feeling that way. I was trying to change my state of internal being,
mhm,
and without even realizing, without understanding, that's what I'm doing. And so, as this cycle kept repeating itself over and over and over and over again, your
mhm,
mind says, like, you are not able to do this, right?
mhm,
The back talk starts. You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? What are you, some kind of a model? Like, who cares if you're 80 pounds overweight? Nobody's looking at you. Don't worry. Just go back to work. Right. So, like, all the negative back talks comes up because you keep failing over and over again, but you don't know why. And so, until you become aware of the pattern, like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. So, when I do lose the weight,
mhm,
I decide for whatever reason, who knows why, maybe I hit my maximum emotional capacity that day, right?
mhm,
That I'm just going to head dive straight into a jar of Nutella and not stop eating it until I feel sick and I need to throw up, right?
mhm,
And so when that happens, instead of going into the shame cycle, so shame, so you get the binge, shame, guilt, restrict, cycle, and then you start it all over again and then go back into the binge, right? So instead of going through that cycle, stop, observe it, and be like, what am name it, what am I doing right now? Is this aligning with my goal? What is my goal? Oh, it's to be healthy, to have my cholesterol down, to have my blood sugar regulated, to have my insulin be regulated, all these things. Okay. So is this activity promoting that goal or is it deterring me from that goal? And what exactly am I trying to achieve? What is the feeling that I'm looking to squash, right? Or maybe it's happiness. Maybe I'm so happy that I can't handle how happy I am and I need to bring myself back down to earth, right? So there's
yeah,
lots of variations here, but at the end of the day, emotional eating is not a physical hunger, it's an emotional hunger.
Right.
And yeah, and it's looking to help you regulate. And it's a habit that you can break. 100% you can break it. You don't have to be a victim to that as long as you're aware of it.
Yeah. So in that 10 years that you kind of went, you had this shift and you were like, okay, this isn't working anymore. I need to shift these patterns. What was it that you did? What did that look like, or what can that look like for other women? Bringing in the physical aspect of it, but then also bringing in, you talk about like the lifestyle and the mindset. What does that look like for a woman that you work with them? How does that all get put together, I guess?
So the process that I went through, I'm not going to call it therapy because it's not. It's coaching, right? So
Mhm.
therapy goes and looks in the past,
Yeah.
right? And it tries to analyze the root cause. It goes back into, your mom, your grandmom, your great grandmom, and all the epigenetics types of things. And it takes a really long time.
Mhm.
What I did was straight up coaching, and that focuses on right now. Like, what is happening right now?
Yes. Love
And
it.
what the heck do we do to fix this going forward? Right. And
Mhm.
so that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to go into it with mindset first, because in the present moment, we don't really know what our mindset is, right? Until we start doing things. We have to take action, right?
Mhm.
So when you start coaching, first things first, we take action every single day based on what our goal is. And then we observe. It's an experiment, is what I like to call it,
Yeah.
right? So we set up the environment to be as friendly to achieving our goal as possible, whatever that could mean, right? Having a gym in the house, having your pantry cleaned out, setting your vision boards and all these things, knowing, having a very clear goal. What is the goal and what
Mhm.
are the actionable steps we're going to take? And then every single day we observe and we say, okay, my higher self, my super intelligent, intuitive higher self, please observe me, the experiment subject. What the
Mhm.
heck am I doing every day? Right. And so, okay, at the end of the day, did I actually do the things I said I was going to do? Did I show up for myself or did I abandon myself? Did
Mhm.
I meal prep my food? If so, why not? If why didn't I? Find if I did, good job. If I meal prepped, they're in the fridge, but I ate completely something else. Okay, so what? Let's be curious. Why? Why did we do that?
Yeah.
And so, okay, great. So for 4 days, we did really great. We were like on point. We had our shit dialed in. Day
Mhm.
number 5, face dive into Nutella. Okay. Write it down. Observe the pattern, right? And then time and time and time again, you're going to notice these things. They're going to happen. Just because it happens once doesn't mean it's over. Just because it's going to happen 10 times and you fall off the wagon 10 times, it doesn't mean it's over. You keep going because the experiment is not over. You know when
Right.
the experiment is over? When we're 6 feet
Well,
under. you
exactly. It
just
is a
keep
journey.
going.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. I
And
love
so
that. Yeah, keep going.
yeah, and so that's what I did, right? And
Yeah.
so I just looked at myself as this big experiment. And I was like, I'm not quitting this time. I've quit every single thing because somewhere internally, intuitively, I knew this was right. I knew
Mhm.
Atkins, I wasn't going to stick with it. I knew all these
Yeah.
other things, it wasn't going to happen. But this approach, and it was specifically nutrition, right? So everybody out there listening, it's not a diet. There's no diet. There's no particular foods you got to eat. There's no particular macros you got to hit. Everybody's bio individual. Everybody's protein's different. Everybody's carbs are different. They're much fat you get per day. Everybody's different. The foods are different. It's not Weight Watchers. It's not Jenny Craig where you get a frozen meal and everybody gets the same thing. No, no, no. It's exactly what you like to eat based on your body type, based on your goals, specifically for you. And that unlocked something in me. And my higher self that's observing everything I do, she said, wow, so this is sustainable. We can actually do this. And the only thing that's going to stop us from being successful is us because we're not going to follow something that actually
Mhm.
works.
Yeah.
And now this is the golden question. If it works, and you know it works and it's sustainable for the rest of your life, what
Mhm.
is stopping you from being consistent? If you can answer that question, you have solved the puzzle, right?
Mm,
And so that could come in many different forms of sabotage,
mhm.
right? And where does sabotage come from? Old stories that you told yourself. This is where the therapy comes in, right? So all the old outdated stories you told yourself about who you are, what you deserve, what you're entitled to, how much happiness you're allowed to feel, how much abandonment you're willing to tolerate in your life, how little boundaries you might have, and how much people pleasing that you do. All those things are now going to start coming into the picture when you start seeing success, right?
Right.
And that's when you want to pay the most attention, because when things start working, you know it's sustainable, you can see the end of the light. You're like, oh my gosh, think I've solved the equation. Boom. That's when the boogie monsters come in.
Yeah.
And that's how you change, right? That's how we change our lives, is in those moments when the boogie monsters show up and they start telling you, oh, you don't deserve this. Other people are more important than your own health. The boundaries start falling. Somehow you never cannot find 1 hour a day in your life for
Mhm.
yourself to do a couple of exercises. Pay
Mhm.
attention to that, because it's telling you how to solve the problem.
I love that. It's so much deeper. And I think that's where, and I love that you said this is where we need to give ourselves grace, get curious. I love that. This is what I am obsessed. I am a life coach. So I love when we are able to get curious and start to look at what are those patterns. And I love that you're saying, like, it's when you're doing the work, and it's also when you've done the work and you've reached that point of where you're feeling that success, but then those boogie monsters come in. Pay attention to that. I love that because I think that is so true. Everybody thinks it's all going to the beginning, it all starts at the beginning, but there's so much. And this is why we see women fluctuating all of the time, and then, going into these same patterns and same cycles that they struggle to get out of. And one of the things that I really love that you have talked about is just, you know, rethinking aging as an opportunity, and that this doesn't have to be a decline. We can get out of these loops. There is hope, ladies. What does that look like in practice for you and for a woman who's been told that, oh, your best years are behind you, your 20s were the great ones? Because I know for myself, being in my 50s is probably one of my favorite times of life. And so I just love that you talk about this too. So, again, what does that look like in practice for a woman who's been told that your best years are behind you?
Oh my gosh, you couldn't pay me enough to go back to my 20s.
I love that. Me either. I don't think I'd go there either. Yeah.
Hard pass on that. It's very hard to be 20, 30. And
Yeah.
from, in my case, even my 40s were really rough, right?
Hmm.
And so when you enter 50 and you have done the work, right? So that's where the key is. You have
Yeah.
done the work and you're
Hmm.
continuing to do the work because it doesn't really
Right.
end.
Yeah.
You have more clarity, right? You have a very clear picture of who you are. What you don't have a mask anymore. You don't need a mask. You don't have to
Right.
pretend.
Right.
You can tell people, no, thank you. I really appreciate the offer, but I'm going to pass. And you're not going to feel that urgent need to please or to keep up appearances, right? Things are a lot easier to say no to. A very
Yeah.
important part of growth. You have a very clear picture of where you're going, how you want to get there, what types of people are good for you. You have enough experience behind you to know and recognize, like, hey, this is not for me, right? And it's
Mhm.
okay to say no. And the experimentation era is settled down a bit, right? So if you have done the work, meaning you have run many experiments on yourself over time, you have a very good picture of the terrain that you're running, right?
Yeah.
and what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what you're good at, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, what kind of people you want to be surrounded by, what kind of mindset you want to work towards, what work satisfies you and fills your cup and what doesn't, right? And so you have more confidence in a sense without needing to please other people.
So good. Yeah. As we're kind of wrapping this up before we get into our sip and spill, I want to just ask you this because, you have obviously, your life has changed. You've done the work, you continue to do the work, and now you're helping other women do the work. And your podcast, as we mentioned, is called How Good Can It Get? Which I'm obsessed with that question. But what has changed for you in besides the physical? What has changed for you that you didn't expect doing this work?
I feel much calmer.
Mm.
I have a lot less anxiety and I'm very comfortable saying no. And I stay really focused on the things that I know are going to produce maximum impact for my health. And I'm not afraid, right? That fear of and that anxiety has gone away. So when I was in my 30s, I used to think about, oh my gosh, when I'm 50, wow, I'm going to be like practically in the grave. Like I just thought I was going to be in a really bad place because of the condition I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, wow, like this is just keeps getting better and better. I keep getting stronger. I
Mhm.
don't have that constant internal anxiety, like, oh, something bad's going to happen. Or, I mean, obviously everybody has that, but to a degree,
Right.
but it was overwhelming back then because everything was going in a bad direction. I'm not afraid to look at my blood tests.
Right. Yeah, that's huge. I think that's what people avoid that. People avoid going to get their blood work done because they're afraid of the answers. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's so good. And and I love that. And this is why coaching, I just say women, this is why coaching is so important. I believe in the therapy. I'm not anti-therapy. I have been in lots of therapy, but the coaching there, it does focus on the here and now, and it's forward thinking instead of just constantly going back to all of the traumas. We get to acknowledge that through therapy and work through some of that, but then you get to start getting coached. And this is why I feel like the work that you're doing, Terry, is amazing. It's awesome. I love it. I know that we end every episode with I briefed you quickly. You didn't get to know the questions per se, but we do our sip and spill. And this is just kind of a quick, fun way to get to know you and kind of on a more personal level as well. And so I'd love to just ask you a couple quick, kind of like it's almost like a little rapid fire before we head out. But this episode just truly just beautiful. But curious for you, what is your favorite morning beverage? And is it something that is good for us?
Latte, 2% milk.
Nice. I love it. That is one of my drinks of choice for sure. What is one non-negotiable health habit that you will never skip, no matter how busy life gets for you?
Macronutrition.
Love it. And then a book, or it could even be a resource or podcast person, just something that has completely changed how you think about health and the body.
Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yes. So one of my favorites. It's sitting on, as a matter of fact, it's right up here.
Mhm.
I revisit that often and talk about it a lot. And then last question, complete this sentence. The one thing I wish I had known about my body at 30 is.
It is resilient and amazingly strong.
Oh, so good. Oh my gosh, Terry, honestly, this conversation just it really resonated with me. I know it's going to resonate with so many women. Just again, I love bringing experts on here that empower us and just open our eyes to, even if maybe you're someone that has heard about macros or you're like, gosh, that's right, macros. Like haven't heard that in a while. Please. find Terry. We're going to talk about how we can find her. We will have it in the show notes as well. But I just want to say thank you for showing women really what is truly possible and for doing it here with just a lot of grace and just being real with us and having that. I'm so grateful that you're here today. But again, before we let you go, because I know some people just are in their car or whatever and they want to just know where is the best place for our listeners to find you and plug into your work.
Yeah, so you can find me on my website, thehouseofrose.com, or on Instagram, How Good Can It Get? And actually, I'm going to send you, Noelle, my free macro calculator in case anybody's
Amazing.
curious on what their macro should be. You can click on that and then fill out your height, weight, gender, and it'll give you.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you for that. And friends, again, all of Terry's links, her podcast, and then everything she mentioned today will be right here in the show notes waiting for you. So make sure you go find her. I love your Instagram as well. It's so great. Just such great nuggets. I was devouring it the other day, but ladies, she's the real deal. And your body and mind will thank you for finding her. So to every woman out there listening, just remember that your most powerful chapter is not behind you. It's being written right now. And so, again, as I always say, keep rising, keep shining, and know your best day is right here waiting for you. Bye, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.